Matt, whether you know it or not, we actually have an Ultimate Fighter winner in our midst preparing to take on Wellington Turman at 185 pounds. We have Andrew Dirte Sanchez taking on the aforementioned Wellington Turman. And Matt, really interesting fight because if you look at Andrew Sanchez for the parts and parcels and what he's good at, he was a national champion wrestler, NAIA, two-time there, and translating into MMA, it has gone well. Now, he's one of those guys that we liken him to a former opponent and a former common opponent between these two guys in Marcus Perez, because what Andrew Sanchez will do is he'll throw a lot of power shots to set up the takedown. Then he takes you down, and hopefully he doesn't get tired. Now, he won the Ultimate Fighter Season 23 at 205 pounds, but typically has competed at middleweight, former RFA middleweight champ. And so far in his last 5 fights, I mean, he is 3-2. His UFC record's been so-so. But you look at the losses. Anthony Smith, that's going to happen. After that, Ryan James, not that great. And Ryan James looked like an absolute world beater in that fight. Tons and tons of strikes. He did. He looked good. He did. Ryan James. And an Atlanta Canadian from Newfoundland. Sure. Then he gets the win over Marcus Perez. Then he beats Powerbar, Marc-Andre Barrios, and they're training partners now. And he lost the decision to Marvin Vettori. Again, Marvin Vettori, could he be a ranked guy? Could he have a future at middleweight? I really do think he does. Now, for Wellington Turman, he comes in and he beats Marcio Alessandre, a guy that you know from the UFC, beat him in future. Then he comes in and he takes on Carl Roberson. And you think, well, Wellington Turman's not going to beat Carl Roberson. He didn't, but he lost a split decision in a fight that was really close. And then after that, he beats Marcus Perez. So you got two guys that have fought kind of the same level of competition, but there's a big difference in the fact that Wellington Turman, 24 years old, you've got Sanchez at 32. And again, Sanchez, he won the Ultimate Fighter. He beat Bangkok ready Khalil Roundtree to win that season. It's an interesting fight. I won't tell you what the odds are. I won't tell you what the Tapology picks are, but what do you make of this one here?
So this fight really does come down to cardio for both guys, because I think Turman is definitely the better striker out of the two. You had mentioned it with Dirte Sanchez. He throws wild looping shots until hopefully one of them lands. But I've never seen a fighter get more 10-8 first rounds just to get beat in the second and third round himself, because that's his problem. He works way too hard for the finish, even though his style isn't really directed towards finishing. What's going to do? If Justin Gaethje really puts it on you for one round, he's probably going to knock you out. If Sanchez puts it on you for one round, he's probably going to take you down and kind of hold you against the cage a little bit. He's kind of a smaller Curtis Blades. It's just at 185, you're not really able to get away with some of the problems that a heavyweight would be able to, because that's how he fights. And he exhausts himself. It's a really odd problem for a guy to have, because when you look at his skill set, he's a very dominant wrestler. Most guys he tries to take down, he's able to do. And I think the Anthony Smith fight's a pretty good example, because he was beating Anthony Smith pretty handily. He was beating him on the feet because Smith was so worried about the takedown. I mean, Anthony Smith's a really good grappler himself. And then he gets completely exhausted. Anthony Smith lands a few shots, gets him up against the cage, head kicks him, and beats him. So it's a really odd position. And the Ryan James fight was weird too, because he drops James twice in the first round and then gets exhausted going for the finish. And Ryan James, who's not Bangkok ready at all.
He's not a striker in the least bit.
No. And then he goes out there and just puts it on Sanchez. It was upsetting, really, just to see a guy get that tired and get finished. With Wellington Turman, I don't know if he'll be able to defend those takedowns. It comes down to who can manage their cardio better, I do think, because Turman, if he has the better cardio, if he can just defend a few takedowns or even give up the takedown knowing that, okay, later on in the fight, let him exert all of this energy, I'm going to start piecing him up, that could be a decent game plan, only specific to this one opponent. But if Sanchez keeps on getting those takedowns, keeps on making Turman work, I think it could be the opposite. I think Turman's a guy, in his last fight, he seemed to get tired as well. So it's not like we have any cardio kings out here. It's going to be an interesting fight. I don't know if it's going to be the most entertaining one on the card, but I'm going to side with Wellington Turman.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I mean, Wellington Turman, he's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, so he's got that in his back pocket. Typically uses his striking to set up his grappling on the ground. But the neat thing is he throws a lot of nice kicks. He'll throw a front kick to the body. He'll really start to piece guys up, standing in the orthodox stance. He's not that bad. And again, against guys like Marcus Perez, and to pick up a split against Carl Roberson, where MMA media members on MMA Decision scored it 9-3 in favor of Turman to win that fight. So a little bit of a surprise there. But with Sanchez, you're not going to take him down. He's got 100% takedown defense so far in the UFC, and he's fought good competition. So that's not going to happen. You'd have to have it on the feet. And it's one of those ones where we've got precision versus power. Which one's going to win out? And it's always a 50-50 there. it's tough. And you have to consider the fact that hopefully Andrew Sanchez at some point corrects the cardio issues. Now, so far out of 704 votes on Tapology, 72% going with Wellington Turman, overwhelming majority of 76% predicting a decision win in his favor. He's a minus 160 favorite. Sanchez coming in the plus 135 underdog. Who are you going with here?
Got to side with the favorite. I just think Wellington Turman, A, has the higher ceiling out of these two, so if he is able to get the win. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 15 guy at middleweight for a long time, because middleweight is a really good division when you actually look through the ranks, the guys who aren't yet ranked. But I think he's going to be a guy, maybe similar to kind of what Marvin Vettori is now, where they are not able to get ranked opponents at a certain point because people know that they're dangerous and they don't have a number next to their name, so it just kind of becomes an issue at one point. If he's able to go out, get a really nice finish over Andrew Sanchez, and especially, like I said, if he can finish him, I think that'll be super impressive. Because when you look at the guys who've done it, other than Ryan James, like, if you could finish a guy with these finish, you're in pretty good company. So I'm going to pick Wellington Turman, probably by decision, but I'm going to say finish just for the fun.
I think Andrew Sanchez is going to win this one.
Really?
I think there's a lot of different ways that he can get it done, but the fact that Turman can be a little susceptible to getting hit on the feet, you can have issues against a guy like Carl Robertson. You can have some holes in your game against a guy like Marcus Perez. You can't have issues like that against Andrew Sanchez because, again,
is Andrew Sanchez a better striker than Carl Robertson all of a sudden?
I think Andrew Sanchez, the fact that he's going to use that power and pressure to really push Turman, the fact that he's going to really try and take him down and beat on him, I think there's a lot of good opportunities for Andrew Sanchez in this fight to get the win over Wellington Turman. I know it might sound crazy, but there's a lot of good opportunities for underdogs on this card. Andrew Sanchez is one of those ones that I'm going to go with. So we're going to differ with our picks here. I'm going with Andrew Sanchez. Matt's going with Wellington Turman. You're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for the card. We get 12 fights on this one, including an extended look at our main event between Derek Lewis and Alexei Oleinik. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.